You can see the Bitcoin price is still pulling back. Is the worst over, or is it going to get a whole lot worse over the days to come? Well, that's what we're going to cover on today's show. I do also have a trade set up for you. So without further ado, let's get straight into the show. Looking at the banter bubbles over here, you can definitely see that it's more the altcoins which have taken a serious knock, and sometimes the biggest winners turn into the biggest losers the following day, which is PulseX, Pulse Chain, and Hex standing out like a sore thumb over there. So if the market does decide to bounce, I would anticipate these would probably be the biggest gainers on the following day. So let's have a look over here at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, and I wanted to outline three important moving averages. We have the 200 weekly moving average, which is the orange one over here. You can see that price on the weekly chart is currently trying to recapture that moving average. If that does get lost, there is still support which comes in between the 21 EMA as well as the 200 EMA, and that's going to be between 25,157 and 25,500. So a whole lot of support within that level. But if that level does start to get lost, it definitely could accelerate towards the downside quite aggressively, and you'll be looking towards that anywhere between $18,000 and $23,000 as your next potential target where price comes into this zone. Again, it's very important to focus on the closes, because there is a possibility if you do see an aggressive sell-off into that region, it could be a candle that gets left behind that looks like this, whereby you just have a massive wick to the downside, meaning that those who try to flip short underneath into this level would be trapped, and basically the bulls who sold out of their positions would have lost a whole lot of gain, because it ends up closing back above the important EMAs and MAs. So that's the weekly chart over here. This week will be an interesting close for sure, so we'll cover that closer to the date, and then we'll revisit it next week as well. Now, I told you yesterday, if you take a look at this chart over here, this is the 4-day chart using the long term, the medium term, and the short term moving averages. And I just very quickly wanted to turn off, if you turn off the drawings that I had over there, I said pay attention to this longer term moving average. There is a possibility that you'll have some sort of swing failure pattern whereby price comes below that moving average. If you see it recapture it, then it could potentially open up the opportunity to go long with your stop below that wick, as long as you see no closing candles below this wick over here on the left hand side. And I drew it out. There it is. You got the wick over there. Let's delete our drawing over here which we made, just so you can see very clearly. Look at where price came. It did not yet take out the previous wick low. Also, if it does take that out, I would need to see at least a 12-hour candle close below that level, below the moving average, to confirm that this is going to ultimately lead to lower prices and a bigger breakdown. So what does that mean? That actually means that I've started to look for a potential long position, and I'll give you the exact trade setup when we get towards the end of the stream on the lower time frames. I'll show you my thinking, but keep this in mind. This is part of the reason why I was looking for potential long, because if this is going to be a spring and a bounce off this zone, you might get a little bit of an up thrust from this level. Now, the stock market, you can see the stock market did break down the little diagonal trend line that we were looking at yesterday. So I'm going to delete that. That breakdown happened, and now price is pushing back into the resistance. So it's retesting this level. Failure for the stock market to get back above these zones over here and proving that it is resistance will ultimately lead to low prices. So any long trades that I'm taking right now are definitely just quick trades. They're just quick relief rally trades where I'm just looking for an overall bounce, and then later on I'm going to be looking for continuation down. So watch the stock market. If you see a push back into the range high like this around that 41.79 level and it starts to turn over, you can expect you're probably going to have full-on expansion into these lower regions, which is going to be between that 40.30 and 40.50 zone, which is coming in right around here. Cool. That's about another 3 or 4% for the stock market to the downside. So make with that information what you will. You can imagine it is going to affect crypto. Next, I did outline already, this was all the way back in May. You can have a look at the date, May the 2nd of this year. I said there's a potential for the W formation pattern on the DXY. And ultimately, if that does play out, it's going to add a lot of pressure onto risk on assets. Now, it's not to say that risk on assets cannot rally at all when the DXY is going up. It just decreases the probability, and for the most part, it adds pressure towards the downside. So there we have it. There's the DXY claiming a little bit of clout. say clout in the comment section below. Also smash the like button over there just to help get the show out to the rest of the audience, since we are just returning back from Miami. But here you have it. Here's the DXY. Now the real move really starts to take place when you take out target 2. So this is a level that I'll be focused on over the coming weeks to months. I don't know how long it takes for the DXY to get here. If it follows this exact trajectory, then you could say probably sometime towards the end of June is where you reach that T2. Again, smash the like buttons, guys. I saw immediately the viewers jump up when you did that, so it really does help. If you are watching live, please make sure to smash the like button. I see there's only 175 likes. If you can just get that to at least 500-600 on the show, it will really help to get the content out there. Okay, so DXY, once you cross T2, which is target 2, 105.79, that's when you can expect the real expansive move will take place, and it'll be interesting to correlate and see where Bitcoin is in relation to the DXY being at these levels. Also, I'm not somebody that's only one directional bias. So what I would say is also watch this level carefully, because it's still possible that the DXY does start to turn over like that. If that does happen, then what do you have? Well, you have your breakdown level, you have a lower high, and then this would be your third lower high, which means that you're probably going to head back down towards the major support. If that does happen, what is the probability that you get a triple bottom? Well, I think very, very unlikely. Triple bottoms don't have a high probability of happening, or triple tops, because it's a resistance level that's getting tapped, right? 1, 2, and 3 times, which means that that support level becomes weaker and weaker. So there is still a possibility that that happens. If this does roll over, you can expect then probably the stock market and crypto will take a major bounce. Now, the total market cap is moving down. It's heading towards that $1.022 trillion target that we had in mind, which is coming in right over here. And then we expect a bit of a bounce from that zone. You can see total 2 though. Total 2 has started to break below its mid-range as well as the diagonal support. So that's not a good sign. If the dollar continues to push on up and the stock market turns back down, then most likely this total 2 is going to start to roll over all the way back down towards the bottom of the range. And then again, it's exactly what I just said. What is the probability that you're going to get a triple bottom, right? So what is the probability? Well, the probabilities significantly decrease. Remember, each time that a level gets hit, you might get a bigger bounce. So let's have a look at this. For example, the first time this level gets hit, what happens over here? Price comes down, big bounce, right? Because it's the first time that level is getting tested. The second time the level gets tested, what happens over here? Is this bounce over here as aggressive as this one? No, it's not. You can see less of a bounce. So if it comes down into this zone over here, probably still get maybe a little bit of a bounce, but maybe it only goes over there. And then ultimately, I would expect it to break through that zone. So that's total 2 for you. Total 3, let's take a look at that one. Total 3 has also lost its mid-range over here, and pretty much it's going to be the same scenario. We're also looking at this as a diagonal over here. So you got a parallel channel towards the downside. If that does play out and it starts to lose its range low, which is this region over here, your next target probably finds some support in line with that diagonal around that 246 billion. So probably going to take a couple of weeks for something like that to play out. At the time being, we just want to watch this mid-range and start to see and assess what happens with the closes over there. Is it going to start to close below this level or not? Closes below are not a good thing. Okay, Bitcoin on the daily time frame as well as Ethereum, just very, very quickly updating you on the pivot levels. So we have our pivot level coming in right over here at 26,537. If Bitcoin manages to close back above there, momentum will shift to the upside and you might see a bit of a bounce back into these EMAs. So here we have the 12 and the 24 EMA. You might get a push into there and once again another rejection. You can see ever since they crossed to the downside, it's been resistance, and ultimately pushing price down. What does that mean? If you're playing the long side, you have to understand that it's very short-term action that you're taking, a very short short-term play. You're not looking for a massive rally all the way into the $30,000-$40,000 zone from here until such time as you reclaim those EMAs. Ethereum, let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum's pivot level, also price is stuck below it. It's currently coming in at $1,801. That's $1,801. Same thing, if it reclaims that, a push into the EMAs, and then most likely it's going to reject from there. You got the 200 EMA, the light blue one, coming in as support around 1,700 on Ethereum, and on Bitcoin you got that one coming in around 24,000-25,000, which, as you would know, lines up exactly with these moving averages as well. It's going to be an important zone to hold. Cool. Next, let's have a look at some of the coins that we covered yesterday. Very quickly, this is around the whole Hong Kong and China narrative, right? That's currently going on. So we were looking at Solana, saying that you want to see Solana hold this 200 MA. So the moving average 200 is the orange one, and I'm on the daily chart over here. Remember what I said? Pay attention. You don't need to front run this idea. You can see price then sold off below the 200 and quickly tried to reclaim that. I would really wait for this to reclaim above this mid-range level, the pink box, before I went long. So if it does do something like that and you have no closes below, you get back above, then you start to open up a possibility for a trade setup to go long, and you can long back to the top of the range over there. So Solana is not yet ready on that trade idea that we gave. Okay, Filecoin, let's move on. Not looking too great. Atom, not too great in my opinion. Same thing with Matic. I'm just looking for ones that are still above their 200 MA. So BNB is still above the 200 MA. The 200 MA is starting to roll over. Personally, I think there's better coins out there. I probably wouldn't go long on something like BNB. Something that does look better is Litecoin, for example. Here's Litecoin. This is what we were looking at yesterday. We said watch for a move below the 200 moving average and then a quick reclaim of that level. So far, we have that happening. So this one is a potential that you could potentially have a trade setup, especially if Bitcoin does start to bounce from this level. What would it look like? It would look something like this. For example, if you were to trade it back towards the top where the breakdown level is, you'd be looking at something like that, stop below the wick, and as long as it holds that level, it will work out. If it does fail this level, it's simple. Just stop out the position, reevaluate, wait for a test of the trend line. The trend line is currently coming in around that $78 level. So around $78, wait for the bounce of that level and then reclaim. Of course, you have to adjust your position size in that instance. Okay, Chainlink. Still, Chainlink is below the 200 MA. But if it does come into this zone around the 545, potential long zone from that level. We'll revisit it when we get closer to the time. Okay, AVAX. What about AVAX? Not much to comment on this one as well. I would wait for a proper swing failure pattern over here and a break of structure. So what does that mean? When you look at something like this, you need to move on to a low time frame. Let's give you an example, like a 4 hour. So far, when you look at this on a 4-hour chart, it's really not looking too bad. Look at the positioning of that candle. I'll zoom in to make it bigger for you. Look at the positioning of that candle. It is definitely starting to look like a major reversal candle. So actually probably could be an opportunity to go long. Stop obviously goes below this wick over here. Sometimes what you'll find is price will refill at least 50% of this wick. So how do you work that out? Just grab your fib level over there and then you take the wick. From there to there, you can look 0.5. So if price comes anywhere around that 50% mark, so somewhere around 1391, if it comes back into this zone over here, that's an opportunity for you to add to a long position. You don't necessarily have to buy so high up, and stop goes below, right? So I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comment if that does make sense. Which are the other ones that we looked at? Let's move back onto the daily time frame. Let's go to DOT. Okay, DOT, if you zoom in, is probably going to look very similar. It is coming into the range low, so you could start to see a bounce happening from this. If I move on to the 4 hour, it's going to look similar to AVAX. So look at all these candles, right? Similar to these ones back here, big wicks and demand into that area. It might provide for one more big bounce. Cardano, let's see where Cardano is. No man's land, wouldn't touch Cardano. Let's see BCH, so Bitcoin Cash. I would still wait for it to come lower around that 99-cent zone. Next, okay, let's quickly have a look at this. This is new news that just came in, so we'll have a quick watch.
新消息，香港证监会今天宣布，香港虚拟资产交易各项准备工作基本就绪。6月1号起，香港证监会将开始接受虚拟资产交易平台申请。
自2023年6月1号起，适用于虚拟资产交易平台营运者的指引将正式生效。正在或打算在香港提供虚拟资产交易相关服务。
there we have it. Bullish on Bitcoin. China is bullish on Bitcoin. You can see the Bitcoin sign over there. There is a full translation over here, jokes aside, from Whale Wire. So they say breaking the state-run Chinese media outlet, which is CCTV, has just broadcasted news about Hong Kong's upcoming crypto adoption. We've translated the coverage into English. Starting from June the 1st, 2023, guidelines for operators of virtual asset trading platforms will officially take place. Operators who are currently or planning to provide services related to virtual asset trading in Hong Kong must apply for a license from the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission. And then they basically go on to say that there is a narrative over here. Feel free to go and read that. I will retweet it. Give it a like, give it a retweet. But the point is, these coins that are just outlined over here will form part of an index whereby they will have exposure to these main larger cap coins. So you want to pay attention to these coins. The Chinese narrative coins or the Hong Kong narrative coins could potentially start to bounce if Bitcoin does play ball. Very, very important. Bitcoin must play ball. Now, let's look over here at the potential power of 3 scenario, which could be playing out on Bitcoin on a low time frame. I'm on a 4-hour chart over here. Firstly, risk is towards the downside. Why? Because you do have the death cross where the 50 cross below the 200 EMA. Both are angled downwards and price is respecting that level and rejecting off of that zone along the way. So you can see rejection, rejection, rejection. But what I'd be looking at, I have attempted a long. I'm going to show you the long on the 1-hour time frame chart and why I took that trade. Give me a second to just finish this over here, this idea. If that long fails though, and I get stopped out, then I would start to look at this as the next potential play, which is the power of 3, right? So what is the power of 3? Well, what happens is usually you have that consolidation. Then you have manipulation, whether that be to the upside or the downside, in this instance to the downside, and then you break back into the range. This would then be your deviation or your swing failure pattern back into the range. And then usually you have expansion back towards the upside. So that is a trade idea. It's not to say that it's 100% going to work, but I'm trying to analyze the potential scenarios of what may take place. So if the very, very low time frame trade idea, the long setup, which I'm about to give you, fails, this would be my next idea. And why is that? Because it means you would have a potential SR flip back into the prior range high. So remember, this 25K level was the prior range high and it's yet to be tested. Months ago, I told you, pay attention when we had the big breakout from that range. I said this level will eventually be retested. And if you miss the entire run, just be patient. You'll probably get a chance to get back in. And now we are very, very close to that particular point in time. So that's what we're looking at over there. If you obviously break through this range, you're coming all the way back down to the bottom of here is around that $23,000 level. It also lines up with the 200-day moving average, comes right in around this zone. So that is going to be an important level if that 25K zone doesn't hold. Okay, looking at the leverage traders and where their stops lie, you can see most people were chasing price action down towards the short side, and now you have a whole lot of liquidity which is to the upside, right? So for all these guys that were shorting 25x shorts, here you got also 50x shorts which are currently in play. Look at the blue lines on the right hand side, a lot more shorts than there are longs. This is the longs on the right hand side. On the bottom, the pink zones, those are the guys that could be liquidated who were previously long. These are the guys who could be liquidated who were recently short. So liquidity is towards the upside. Your first and closest level is going to be 26,325, and then you can obviously move up to about 26.8, and then there was one further up at 27,800. So this is kind of the trade idea and the setup that I have, and it's based off this. So looking at a potential range, so your range over here is between 26,553 on the 1 hour chart, and the upside is at 29,989. So based on these shorts getting squeezed, you might see, in the same way you had a little deviation over there, you might see a little deviation back into the range over here, and then I'm kind of playing it back towards the mid-range. So let's zoom in and I'll give you the levels. You can see the trade idea is still right in the zone, and I have taken this trade. It's your entry would be around, let's just quickly give that to you, 26,215 written in the gray on the right hand side. Your stop is at 25,798, also in the right hand side in red. That's your stop loss just below the wick over there. And then your take profit, well, you can take half your profit just before the major breakdown level at about 27,145, and then I'm targeting the major liquidity at 27.8 if it is even to get that high. Now, you have to understand how you enter these trades, right? If I see price do this, so if price does come up, firstly, this might happen. You might see price right now come back down towards this wick over here, at which you can add to your position. And if it comes back up towards the range low and it starts to reject from this zone, of course, I'm immediately going to cut the position. I'm going to raise my stop into the profit zone over here, and I'm going to cut the position because that means that you're having a bearish retest and a rejection from the prior range low, and that means that price is obviously going to fall through and go a whole lot lower. So that is the trade idea. Please let me know in the comments, does that make sense? There's the trade. You can see I've taken it over here on BitGet. I'm in the trade, stop loss is there, everything is in, and I'll pretty much just be waiting and managing this trade over the coming days. If you do want, you can also take this trade on ByBit because we're running the competition. Oh, by the way, there is still positions available. We were taking a max cap of 2,000 positions or 2,000 participants at least. So we're on 1,887. If you do want to join, the winner will take home either a Tesla or they can choose $40,000. Second place, you get a Rolex. It's a Submariner, similar to the ones we gave away previously, or you take $20,000. Third place prize is going to be $10,000, and the sign up links are below. So again, check out BitGet, up to $8,000 sign up bonus if you use my link below, and ByBit you get up to $30,000 if you use the sign up link below. Trading competition is there as well. Guys, that's it. That is a wrap. I think that we covered just about everything. So someone says, yes, Lucky Doodle won the Tesla. That's the OKX Tesla. There's also another competition. We always have competitions. So make sure you keep an eye out for those competitions. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. And that's it from me. Cheers for now.